I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, October the 13th, where the board's loss on Thursday was a Hedger's gain, as your spot October board was down $1.42. It kept your Southern Plains guys from getting $1.12 as they settled in for $1.11, but your hedgers in the Southern Plains still netted more because the board was down $1.42 and they only really gave up $1 on what they probably could have got on the direct trade, and it got them relatively close to the board to get that basis down there, that negative basis, as tight as they probably could this week. But you look at the board on Thursday, December live cattle futures are down $1.25 at 117.27, and that spot October that the guys are hedged up with for the cattle that are on the show list right now was down $1.42 at 112.35, so only a negative basis of not quite $1.50 there. November feeder cattle was down $1.12 at 154.55, and that was a lot more than what your October is, because it's going to have to meet up here pretty close with the cash market. It was only down 60 cents at 153.55. But your fats did start moving in the Southern Plains on Thursday afternoon at $1.11. You know, you might say, well, that sure wasn't very good, because it was only a quarter more than the best bid on the Fed Cattle Exchange on Wednesday morning. But the whole complexion of the market was totally different on Thursday than it was on Wednesday, because you had the board down triple digits. But that $1.11 is not bad at all for your Southern Plains. I still expect the Northern Plains to get the $1.12 that we thought we should get this week, and they've been running about $1 premium for the last several weeks and should again this week. So, but it's unclear how many cattle traded at that $1.11, but moving along pretty briskly, and that was $2 better than the bulk of last week's trade. Your slaughter may not quite reach that record that we had a couple of weeks ago for this year, but through Thursday, 469,000, that's 10,000 more than last week and 15,000 more than the same week a year ago. Your actual dressed steer weights for the week ending September the 30th dropped 3 pounds on this latest report at 894 pounds, so that's a good sign to show that we're getting off some of those big heavyweight cattle and starting to green up just a little bit. But your supply and demand report come out on Thursday there, and for your corn on your crops, and it was bearish for corn and bullish for beans, as they cranked up the expectation of your harvest per acre on your corn with a yield of 171.8 bushels. That moved it up. That's the second largest crop in history, and everybody was worried about how dry it was in North Dakota, and it was dry, but still they just grow so much of this corn anymore, it's hard to gauge it. And then they've got these different hybrids that can pretty much withstand anything, and really it's just, like I've said many times, every year they make it where you can grow more bushels to the acre, but they never seem to make it where you can have less acres to the cow. But your beans, they dialed it down just a little bit on the yield to 49.5 bushels per acre, and that's why your beans were up 26.75 cents on your new crop, and it lent over to the corn, because you thought the corn would have been down a little bit, but the beans were up so much they dragged the corn with them 3 cents. But that just goes to show why all these farmer feeders are so aggressive in here buying these cattle. Their corn's not worth anything, and they're just gambling again. They already gambled in that corn market. It's not going to make any money, so might as well try to get a little bit of return on some cattle. Real-time index on Beef Market Central and the 800-pound steer Thursday afternoon set at 153.94, up 56 cents. But had some good Kansas sales going in there. You look at one of your Kansas sales, Pratt, Kansas, 2,500 head there, and their good big feeder steers $6 to $8 higher. You look at Salina, Kansas, Farmers and Ranchers Livestock, 3,200 head there. Feeder steers over 800 pounds were $6 to $7 higher, according to the automated market report on Cattle Market Central. If you look there, like we talked, there's better demand for the bigger feeders. There's more true yearlings in those bigger feeder steers than they are in the 7 weights, but you look there, 356 head of 7 weight steers, average 751 at 156.31. And then look at those in the next heaviest weight group, 654 head of 8 weight steers, average 837 at 162.88. So there's better demand for those true yearling cattle, the bigger cattle that'll sure finish in line with the April, and I've had that on my last report. And thank you guys for not sending any messages in there. What do you mean we can't get stuff finished by April? I mean lined up with the April board. There's not a March contract, so guys are trying to hedge cattle. They've got to go to the April, and since there's no March board, you've got to get it in line with April. Yeah, I know you could get cattle finished by April if it was just a matter of feeding them till then, but also you got to look, 120 days is not enough to feed cattle anymore. You know, years ago everybody just figure 120 days. Well, you can't get that done when you're wanting to hang 15 or 1600 on them like they do these days, especially in the northern plains. They don't even start thinking about them being fat till they weigh 14 and a half, and then they want to put a little extra bark on them. It takes time to get all that done, even when they're gaining 5 pounds a day. But you look at some quotes there on Thursday. Valentine, Nebraska had another special calf sale there. It's just amazing what they can get for cattle up there. And there's not a lot of farmer feeding right in that general area. They've got to truck them quite a ways back to the east to get into some big farmer feeder pockets. But you look at this, we don't have them on Cattle Market Central. I wish they'd tie in with us. But I had a text sent to me from there on some Charolais balling calves weighing 762 pounds there on Thursday afternoon. 80 head of them bring $1.81. Wow. Now let's look at something a little bit closer to what we're all familiar with. Farmers and Ranchers Livestock in Salina, Kansas, 3:25 in the afternoon on Thursday. 112 head of steers weighing 861 at 167. That's your feeder flash for Friday.